Admittedly, the times where we found Annex, it was good. And if you have Embercleave, Embercleave is a magic card. I will believe in Embercleave. So for this pack, a lot of draft guides I've read say that red was the primary aggressive color, but I have the same feeling about aggressive red 1-drops. Yeah. I feel like red has a lot of cards that look like they're supposed to be aggressive, but either the archetype has felt overdrafted and like I haven't got enough playables every time that I've tried to draft it, or it's actually not deep on super playable stuff. Like, look, here we have Direfleet Daredevil and Dragonkin Berserker. They're both, like, supposed to be aggressive red cards, sort of, but they're not good at being aggressive. They're filler. And I don't know how much of this cube winds up being filler. So here, if we want to go aggressive, we take Shale, probably. Draven Inspector I don't think is, like, stellar. So we could do that, or we could play Torrential Gearhulk. I suppose I do want to actually finish this draft kind of quick. So let's just take the aggressive card and pack 2 have, like, literally absolutely nothing, huh? I mean, Bone Crusher Giant is definitely the best card in this pack for an aggressive deck. Abrade is a pretty distant second. Prefers Intervention is a wildly distant third. Renin 7 is a decent card. Pal Collector is interesting. Like, does it actually support... I guess green-red actually is an aggressive creature deck. Alright, well, I'm definitely taking Bone Crusher Giant. Kind of just don't feel like I actually have real other options in that pack. And certainly immediately had a pack where I had no option to go into a white card right away. Basri. Not exciting. I guess Basri Ket would actually be pretty cool when we had Cathar's Crusade. But between Weaponize the Monsters and Rampaging Ferocidons, I guess I'm taking Rampaging Ferocidons here. Basri's really good with Shale. Yeah, alright. I'd be willing to believe that. I don't know that I want to take an uncertainly strong double white card versus a card that I know is fine as a 3-drop. Plus, 2 packs in a row of not seeing great white cards has me leery of picking a medium white card when there's the possibility we're getting cut from white and need to not play white. Speaking of which, I'm going to take another medium to above average red card because there's no white cards. This is beginning to feel like a signal. Well, I guess the good news is, for all my reservation about red currently, my reservation is about red's 1-drops and the spells matter theme, and the creatures we have currently are just good mid-range creatures. Okay, what do we think of this? I could try to go into green-red off of either Garruk or Voracious Hydra. I could try to play white off of Lyra, which isn't horrible. I could try to play Goblin Dark Dwellers, but I don't think that card's stellar. And I could try to go into blue-red off Mind Flayer, but I think that's probably worse than Garruk. I think I take Garruk. I could also take Rankle, I guess. I just don't know that I'm excited about that. Let's see what happens if I try to play green and immediately get past a pack with fixing for black-red. Is Fauna Shaman good? I don't think so. Is Embereth Shieldbreaker good? No. I guess Fauna Shaman's a better 2-drop than Shieldbreaker, though. Alright. Showdown of the Scalds, but white has continued to look closed. I think I'm just supposed to take Inscription of Abundance. I don't think we can play Wolfwillow Haven, even though we're looking sort of mid-rangey. Inscription just isn't an unpleasant card. Bone Splitter is decent. Hiveheart and Llanowar Visionary are interesting, but I'm pretty certain Mana Fixing is just way more valuable at this stage in the draft. I do feel like red-green mid-range Stompy probably is not super short on playables. I hope. Huh. Dragonkin Berserker or Tangled Florahedron. I guess I don't hate speculating on Tangled Florahedron. On the off chance we do end up with like more 4 and 5 drops, Inscription of Abundance is, in a way, a 5-drop. So our curve is sort of high enough to reward Tangled Florahedron. Okay, the Pelt Collector Wield, which does seem like a decent sign. Am I willing to play Temple of Abandon? Am I willing to play Weaponize the Monsters? I don't know if my curve supports a tap land. I don't know if my color combination supports a sacrificey archetype. Rekindling Phoenix, sort of, but probably just supposed to take the land. Even if I don't end up playing it, I think it's just the option is more valuable than Weaponize the Monster is probably going to be. Ooh. This looks like a very good sign that I am supposed to be in green. I don't think Ketria Triome is worth more to me than Voracious Hydra. Okay. I feel like I'm in the right colors. This is a good sign. I also feel like I've opened a pack that doesn't have any cards I want to play. I could play Cultivate. That sounds kind of garbage. I guess I could play Karuga? Banefire, you think? I'm not very excited about playing Banefire. I don't think this card is particularly good. I mean, yeah, I can go face, but are we really going to be a deck that makes a lot of mana? I don't think so. I don't really want any of these. I kind of think Karuga's the most decent, but it's not good. I think it's probably Karuga. Play with Fire? Maybe I should just value the tempo of Play with Fire. Alright, I value that option to play with Fire and possibly not play with Fire more, I think, than I value what Karuga adds to the deck. So I was going to say Devil's Play I think is Banefire, but just strictly better in the context of this cube. But I'm trying to convince myself if there's any justification to take Goblin Banneret over Lightning Bolt, and I don't think that's true. I think I'm just supposed to happily take a Lightning Bolt. Alright, I'm definitely taking Halana Alena over Skewer the Critics, and hoping that either Skewer or Swarm Shambler... I guess I'm not really a deck that wants Swarm Shambler, even if I do want 1-drops. Either way, Alena, too good to not play. Not sure how many good targets there are in the cube for a shock. I've seen surprisingly more than you would expect. Like a pretty decent number. A lot of this cube, at least in the best of one format, I don't know if this is necessarily as true in best of three, seems to be about like 2 drops more than most cubes that I've played in before. And so a shock to a creature does more often than I think you would expect. We're not really about ramping past 4 mana. I think I'm supposed to take Rimrock Knight here. I don't think we're a deck that wants Scorched Bitter. I think it's Rimrock Knight. I really don't want to be tricked into playing Bloodbraid Marauder again, although it is a playable. Lightcrafter's Bestiary is interesting as a way to go long. I don't know if that's what we want, but Sword of Valerian is good. Like, just pretty good. I don't hate playing that, and I think I might dislike playing either of these, so I'm going to take the sword. Wow, there are a lot of cards in this pack that I like. Okay, so we're going to wheel 2 cards out of this pack. They're probably going to be Hall of Oracles and Bonder's Enclave, which is a bummer, because I feel like I want to take one of the 2 drops and hope that we wheel Targnar, although I do think Targnar is probably a better card than either of these. I'm going to take Pack Leader and hope we wheel the Targnar. There is a chance that actually does work out. Green-red fixing or light up the stage. I do like light up the stage. Rexage isn't a terrible sideboard card, but I also don't think we need it a ton. I really don't want tap land fixing in this deck, I don't think. I think we play light up the stage. I think that makes this deck pretty much 100% of the time. Fatal Passage starts to be a lot of tap lands on the first 2 turns. Could we be okay with that? I guess I should consider cutting it, but there's no other pick, so it makes the deck. Little concerning that this wheeled absolutely nothing. I would like Cave of the Frost Dragon, but I can't really play it. I suppose I take Celestis. It's like technically a card we could put in our deck. Gumla Minaret versus Devil's Play. Yeah, that feels like an actual question to me. I don't know if Devil's Play is right there, but we'll go with it. Alright, Swarm Shambler is not an unhappy 1-drop to play. Scorched Bitter is not an unhappy 1-drop to play if we have to, although I don't think we're a 1-drop deck. We're not a deck that's unhappy to be playing 1-drops. Pick up the land in case we need to splash black. I doubt we need to. I guess Equipment also is pretty good with Helena and Helena. We wheeled the Targnar. Oh, successful good times. You'll love to see it. There is justice in the world, and that makes me happy. Okay, so we have some 1-drops. Having Lightning Bolt and Play with Fire and Devil's Play makes Obosh actually kind of interesting, although I suspect Blossoming Defense is probably a better spell. Actually, with Fauna Shaman? You know what? I'm going to give Obosh a chance. think we're going to give that a chance. I don't know if it's actually good, but it's too interesting for me to say no. I do think Blossoming is probably better, especially with the way we're trying to play low-cost creatures, that just being able to make our creatures survive with combat tricks that also dodges removal is probably where we should supposed to be being, but this is interesting. We'll take a Bomat Courier. That seems pretty excellent. Alright, so that's actually 23 cards. I guess Tangled Florahedron. We could play one more and not be upset, and with the curve of our deck, we probably want to play one more. Okay. Is Earthshaker Kenra the one more we want to play? It's not bad, but it isn't... I mean, it's probably a slight upgrade to Embereth Shieldbreaker, but is Forsaken Crossroads a land we want to play? Probably are supposed to be playing Forsaken Crossroads. Augur? I don't think Augur is like super good in this deck. It's a value engine and we're kind of more about doing stuff fast. None of these seem great. Magma Hope is right next to Mizzix's Mastery is kind of funny though. I don't think I really want to play any of these cards. Is there a world in which I play Kiora? I like very little that triggers it. Young Pyro might be solid. I don't think that it makes the deck... I mean, we have Lightning Bolt, Play with Fire, Devil's Play, Battle Display, Boulder Rush, Stomp, Light Up... Well, actually, I kind of forgot that we picked up a bunch of adventure creatures that make it a lot better. Okay, here are some actual options. Siege Gang Commander, Torbran, and Gemrazor are all very good. Torbran with Scorch Spitter, Play with Fire, Lightning Bolt, Devil's Play, Stomp. That Rampaging Ferocidon. That feels like that's supposed to be a card that's in my deck. Do I have the mana fixing for that? I have the Fabled Passage. I don't think I have the mana fixing for this, but I'm going to say that I don't want to be the player not doing that. Howdy, Wontons. Cubing goes pretty alright. Which is to say we're learning, and possibly not winning. Do I take Meathook Massacre because I don't want to play against it? I don't think we're an Anax deck. Are we a Phoenix Vash deck? Maybe. I do need more 3-drops. I probably don't want Toski. Oh, dang it. You do not play in your pod, no. But I'm drafting under the assumption that there is a, like, 0.1% probability that I do play against somebody where those decisions matter when otherwise they don't matter. I think I gotta take Rootbound Crag. I really want to take the Den of the Bugbear. I really want to take that Den of the Bugbear. But I think if we're gonna play Torbran, I need to play the Rootbound Crag. Storm Chaser is good. Really good. It's just difficult for me to view adding a creature when I'm going to have to cut a card from my deck as an improvement over more mana fixing when my deck wants to be playing Werewolf Pack Leader and Torbran. Maybe it was a mistake to get to the point where I wanted to try to play both of those cards. But I'm not going to admit that. Oh, we can just play Gilded Lotus to fix all of our mana problems. Sweet. Hey, whoever took that Magma Opus, I'm not going to let have Mizzix's Mastery. I'm not that nice. You definitely probably shouldn't draft both, but now that we are here, do we take Gruul's Fury because it works well with Obosh and with Torbran? I probably do not play it, but it is interesting to consider the option. Nevermore, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Ooh, Volcanic Salvo might actually be good in this deck. We do have a lot of creatures that have power. Okay. How many cuts does the game think we should have? I should probably be playing Fabled Passage now. 12, 15, 17. With Tangled Florahedron. Are we an 18 land deck? No. So we are probably cutting a land. Which land is it? Probably a mountain. Trying to learn Cube and finally someone's playing aggro. You're in an unfortunate situation if I am the person who is going to try to teach you aggro. Because I guess I've had better success with aggro than anything else. But my pedigree certainly does not lean towards aggro. Okay, so this has us at 12, 15, 17 lands. Yeah. So I need 2 cuts. Should I be keeping Fauna Shaman? I think you cut Pack Leader for Pyromancer. Really? The thing is that, like, I don't think Werewolf Pack Leader is like a bad 3-drop. We don't need to be able to play this on turn 2 for this to be a good card. I think it's entirely possible we can just keep Pack Leader and be happy with that. Mind you, I do still need to come up with cuts. I'm leaning most towards cutting Embereth Shieldbreaker, which is a card that would synergize with Pyromancer, but yeah. And then the other 1-drop, I guess, would be like cutting Swarm Shambler, maybe? That'll leave us here. I think that's still a pretty reasonable spot to be. There's a lot of 1-drops, but we're not playing bad 1-drops. All of our 1-drops are pretty decent. Does leave me a little shorter on 2-drops than I would like to. I guess I have Tangled Florahedron that's also technically a 2-drop some of the time. Young Pyromancer still seems a lot better than all our other early creatures. How many spells do I have that trigger it? Lightning Bolt, Play with Fire, Blossoming Defense, Rimrock Knight, Shield Breaker, Stomp, Light Up, Inscription. Maybe? What would that look like? Cutting, like, Scorch Spitter? Yeah, that's true. Devil's Play is 3 mana, deal 2 to something that would trigger Young Pyromancer, but I'm not considering it like a good on-curve play to trigger Pyromancer, which is, I think, more important than just all spells that trigger Pyromancer. So, like, I could cut Fauna Shaman, and oh, light up the stage. Bone Crusher. I mean, that is actually a lot of very good cards with Pyromancer. I guess I could just cut Fauna Shaman and play Pyromancer. Do we not? I mean, I value being able to tutor Torbran up as a 5-drop. Howdy, ArenaCraft. Isn't Gruul's Fury an auto-include? I don't know if it's like an auto-include, and I'm worried about playing more tap lands in a deck that's supposed to be pretty aggressive. we already have a pretty high number of tap lands on the first couple of turns, and I have a pretty high number of 1 and 2 drops that I want to get out on curve. So if I was going to try to play 18 lands, I think I'd be happy with Gruul's Fury. I'm nervous about including it as a 17th, especially when one of my lands is already a Tangled Florahedron. So if I'm counting Tangled Florahedron as a 2-drop, that's also a percentage of time where I'm on essentially a 16 land mana base. All right. While we consider this, and whether we want to bring in Young Pyromancer and what for, I'm going to go get the cat that somebody redeemed. Be right back. Socks feels rather extra pudding consistency today. Alright. What was the verdict, chat? Help me figure out what to cut to include this Pyromancer because you've successfully convinced me it's worth playing. Now you have to figure out how to convince me to cut one of my darlings. I mean, the correct answer is just to convince me that Fauna Shaman fetching Obosh and Torbrand isn't good enough. Bomat? Really? I feel like Bomat's a pretty good 1-drop, especially with the amount of removal we have and pump spells that help allow it to get a lot more stuff underneath it. I don't think it's Bomat. It's true that we're never going to empty our hand for it, but you don't necessarily need to empty your hand fast for Bomat to be good. You just need to empty your hand fast for Bomat to be excellent. Here, we can put 2 counters under Bomat, or 2 cards under Bomat, and then just wait until like turn 7 to crack it. Yeah, I mean, it's Fauna Shaman. I have no other card I can consider cutting, I don't think. Alrighty. I am willing to do this. This seems fine.